Hi, I'm Master Mike Dunshock, and today we're at Ancient Arts in Irvine, where I'm going to be teaching a bit about sword combat. So let me get my shinai out of the case. There we go, a fresh shinai. Now the shinai is a wooden sword used in kendo and kenjutsu, but unlike the normal bokken, this one is very light and hollow, so it hurts even less when you hit with it. It's a great training tool to get you used to moving with speed when wielding a sword. A few things to know about this, though. This string, which holds on this cap, actually serves two purposes. Other than holding the cap on and binding all the bamboo shivers together, and also attaching to the leather hilt, it's also supposed to represent the blade. So as you train, you get used to orienting the blade the proper way when you perform your cuts and strokes. And the way you know what's what without looking is you can feel the seam on the hilt with your fingers. That always tells you where the blade should be oriented. Anyway, this is meant for practicing strokes without your live blade. And just like we did before with the single-handed swords or sticks, your strokes come from you can think of it like a telephone number pad. The main one comes from the top straight down. And whenever you make a stroke with a two-handed sword, in some way, you have to connect your movement with your hara or your dantian. In other words, your center of gravity. Your center of gravity has to be committed to the blow. So it's not just a matter of moving your arms down and hacking. It's a matter of motivating the stroke from the gut. So your abdominal muscles tense, and your feet shift forward, and there's a rocking motion that slings the blade forward. Now another consideration as you train and as you make your strokes is to remember that a sword is not an axe, nor is it a hammer or a club. A sword has to drag. It has to slice. If you think about carving a Thanksgiving turkey, you would never chop into the turkey like so. There's always a slicing motion on the turkey. So as you make strokes, even in practice, it helps to think of a projection and a retraction, so that as the sword blade moves through the air and makes contact, that there's always a little bit of dragging that allows the blade to do its work of slicing as opposed to just hacking. So anyway, back to our number pad analogy. The first straight down stroke at the number 2. Actually, I have a number pad on this bag. Well, it's not really made correctly, but for the sake of this exercise, we'll call 1 right in the center here. Straight down and back. Second one is what we might call a moulinet in Western fencing, but it comes from the side, cutting downward at an angle to the neck. And we have it on the right side as well as on the left side. And then you'll have your horizontal strokes where the blade will clear to the side, and you'll use your torso to drag the blade across and to drag the blade across horizontally. Then we have our rising strokes where the blade will start here and crest upward and come back, or start here, rise and crest upward and come back. Now always after you make a stroke, if you're practicing good sword form, you always want to bring the tip of the blade back to center line. So after you cut through, right away bring the sword back and then orient it back to your position. It's not really good to cut through and then to leave it out like this, no matter how aesthetic it looks. Always cut through and bring it back. Bring the blade back. Cut through, blade back to center. Cut across, blade back to center. Cut up, blade back to center. And that's for defensive purposes, as well as to keep yourself oriented to your dantian and your center line. Now, finally, when it comes to a matter of training that abdominal movement and the connection of your core to your weapon strokes, there's a simple exercise used in kendo. And it's made by bouncing forward with your right leg forward, striking down. And you'll do this repetitively to get used to it. And then you'll change and you'll hit at different angles. And you'll do that as an aerobic exercise just to get yourself used to it.